Summer, it's here. I love it so much. And I need me one of those boards that's like, and action. Hello, people of the YouTube world and all who are watching this. I am Mackenzie901K. I'm so glad you're here. So glad you clicked on today's video because it's gonna be a fun one. Summer, it's here. Summer is here. And I, for one, am so, like, kind of stoked for it. Even though summer is not my favorite season, it is probably, honestly, last on the totem pole as far as favorite seasons go. But, you know, that's okay. I still do love me some good summer reading, and I thought we could dive into some summer book recs. Today, I have quite a few. So we're going to be talking about 4 different categories. First category we're going to be talking about is romance. And then we're going to be talking about some fantasy book rec. Then we are going to be talking about some mystery. And then we have the miscellaneous category, which is going to include some middle grade and some graphic novels. So I think we should go ahead and we should jump right on into the book recs because I am so excited for them. So first we're going to start off with the romance category. I love romance reads so much. I think that romance reads are honestly perfect for summer because, you know, summer to me, when you look for a summer read, you are wanting something that's light, that's fluffy, that you don't have to think too hard about. And that is exactly what these books are. They are light, they are fun, they are fluffy. And let's go ahead and let's start off strong. If you are looking for a series for the summer, like your summer series that you can like immerse yourself into for days, because it is actually now a completed series and there is companion series to this series, and that is the Chestnut Springs series. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand how popular this series was last year, but I read the majority of this series last year in between April and May, and it was honestly the perfect time. I just had such a good time reading this series. So this series just follows, I believe it's the Eaton with like a T brothers, because there's the Edens, which is another series. This series follows the Eaton brothers, and they live in this Canadian, not necessarily small town, but I've always considered this series to be small town, but it just gives the small town vibes. It's a very found family series that it just all connects. I'm obsessed with this world. I'm obsessed with all of these books. I think that they are the perfect reads because they are so light and fluffy, and you don't need a lot of brain power to read them. Like, you could just be reading this on a beach somewhere, and that to me just sounds like so much fun. So this first book follows Rhett and Summer. She is his PR babysitter pretty much, so she has to keep him in line because he's ruining all of his sponsorships because he is a bad boy. I just realized sometimes as I'm saying these plots just how ridiculous they are, but it's such a fun time, and I love this series as a whole. Read this series. So the Chestnut Springs series is interconnected standalones, and you could technically read each book by themselves and just like never pick up another book again from that series if you wanted to. I mean, to really get the full experience, I definitely recommend reading the whole series, but we are going to switch up and we're going to talk about In a Jam for a second because I feel like this book just deserves to be talked about more because it was honestly one of my favorite books that I read last year. I just remember being so obsessed with this book. I binged it. We're following our main girl named Shay. Shay's, is it her step-grandmother? Okay, it's her step-grandmother. She just recently passed, and she left Shay her tulip farm. Next door there is this guy, and what is his name? I need his name. Noah and Shay used to be friends back in the day. They kind of got into it, and then she left town and never seen him again. I don't know what it is about that trope, but especially here recently, because Picking Daisies on Sunday, which is an honorable mention. I love that book to bits. I just love that trope so much. Like, I love the friends to strangers to lovers again. And also Noah is a single dad in this trope. I'm not really one to read books about single dads. This book does it well. It's a small town. I love a small town. I love a small town romance so much. Honestly, just the vibes. It definitely gives spring, summer vibes. So not necessarily taking place on a beach, but hey, it's close. I wanted to mention also romances that don't necessarily take place on a beach because, you know, not everybody takes a beach vacation during the summer. You know what? That's perfect. That's fine. There is other options for you, and this is one of them. This is one of my favorite reads. I was obsessed with this book when I read it, and once again, I can just imagine myself chilling outside by the pool, just reading away. Oh, that sounds like such a fun time. Okay, so the next series that I wanted to talk about is a series that I never talk about. And it's a crime because I actually really loved this series last year, and I don't own the physical copies either, which is also a crime. And why don't I own the physical copies of these? I don't know. I mean, it may be the fact that my shelves are literally like full. Like, they're to the brim at this point, but you know, I mean, what's another 4-book series? Again, these are interconnected standalones. You don't have to read them as a series if you don't want to. I actually didn't. I've read every single book in this series except for the first one, but that is the Queen's Cove series by Stephanie Archer. Specifically, the Wrong Mr. Right just really gives summer. I believe that this town, from what I can remember, is a small town but a beach town. Our main character in The Wrong Mr. Right, which is the reason I put this series on here, our main guy Wyatt, he is a surfer, and our main girl, what is her name? Hannah is kind of more of a closed off bookworm, and she owns a little family bookshop. They get along so well, and it's so cute. And from what I can remember, he is giving her lessons, I believe, in how to be, or how to date, really. So he also decides to teach her how to surf, which is why I'm recommending this, because there is surfing in this, and I just thought that was such a cute little concept last year. So this series just really perfect to, if once again, if you want to get into a little bit of a longer series, this is perfect. Or if you just want to read a couple of books from the series, also very perfect. I'm obsessed with that series so much. And then we have a classic that I like had to mention. I'm mentioning it just because I'm so sad. That is the Summer I Turned Pretty series. This series is a TV series now on Prime Video. The reason I'm mentioning this series is because we don't get a season 3 this summer, which is so sad, and I understand completely though why it happened and why it's getting pushed back to next summer, but it's just still so heartbreaking. So this one we're following our main character Belly, and Belly has been going to Cousins Beach for as long as she can remember. She goes there and she stays with her best friend's mom, Susanna. Her and her mom both go, and then she's also there with Susanna's 2 sons, Jeremiah and Conrad, and she has had a crush on Conrad for as long as Belly can remember. She's been obsessed with him. But there's also Jeremiah, who is kind of cute too. What makes this summer so different is Belly is now a teenager and she's really maturing. She looks different than what she's had in the past. I'm not really super duper into the love triangle romance. However, it's okay in here. I try to be okay with it. But I do still love this series so much. I love the show. So the reason I'm recommending it is you can read all 3 of the books. They're all pretty short. I think they're all around like 300 pages. So they're perfect for summer if you just, like I said, wanted a chill read. And then you can go and you can watch the TV series on Prime Video when you are done. And then you can be like me and be sad that the next season isn't coming out until 2025. Go read the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy. I absolutely adore it. The next little romance series that we have is, I think, not a finished series, but that is When in Rome. Again, It is a small town romance. The first book is Grumpy Sunshine. I don't know what the second book is. I really can't remember. It's like, this series is just so good. Once again, for summer, it was such a quick read. I just recently read When in Rome, and I had actually read Practice Makes Perfect. I read it before I read this. So you can read these books in any order you want. It really doesn't matter because they're all interconnected standalones. So with this series, you are following, in the first book, you're following our main girl, Amelia Rose, aka Ray Rose, a very famous pop star, and she decides that she needs a break from the pop star life. So she ends up going to a small town called Rome, Kentucky, and her car breaks down in front of this guy, Noah's house. And Noah walks out there and he's like, "What are you doing in my front lawn?" And she's like, "My car broke down." And he decides to help her. Unfortunately, her car takes a little bit of time to get fixed, so she ends up staying in Rome for longer than she anticipated to. It was such a cute and fun read as well. I adore Sarah Adams' writing. I need to read her other little series, which has the cheat sheet and the rule book in it, because I'm just so obsessed with this. I love the characters. I love how she builds the characters. I love the small town. I love the setting in both this book and in Practice Makes Perfect, with the bakery in this one, and then the flower shop in that one. It's just so, I love it so much. Okay, now we're gonna get into some fantasy recs. I do have fantasy books as well. The first one I'm not going to talk about for too long because I feel like I talk about this book way too much, but that's okay. It's my whole personality, and I do have an exact reason that I'm mentioning it, I promise, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I know you all have heard me talk about this book so much, and I know it is one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely adore and love it. Nobody will ever convince me not to. The reason that I'm mentioning this is because Reckless literally comes out in less than a month. So let me tell you in order. So this book is following our main girl, Peyton. Peyton is a ordinary living amongst this elite society, and the king in this world doesn't want normal, ordinary people to exist. He wants an elite society, period. So she's been posing as a psychic since she was young. She ends up saving Prince Kai's life. So when she saves Prince Kai's life, she is entered into these Hunger Games-esque trials that are deadly to her because they're for elites only. And there is the best romance that ever existed in this book. I could write a book about why I love Powerless so much, but recently the Powerless novella Powerful released, and that follows one of our side characters, Dina, which is Peyton's best friend. It follows her story, and then Reckless is coming out on the 2nd of July, I believe, but Simon Teen just put out, if you have a Simon Teen account with them, you can read the first 11 chapters of Reckless free. Like, okay, good marketing. If I wasn't excited for Reckless already, reading those 10 chapters, I just don't know what I'm gonna do with myself until July 2nd when I have Reckless in my hands. So that is why I'm mentioning Powerless, because Reckless is getting ready to come out and I'm stoked. And that's all I'm gonna say. I cannot go on about that book all day. Another book that I can go on about all day is Renegades, but I'm recommending this because this is honestly perfect as well for summer. You know, fantasy is a little bit harder to read in the summer, at least in my opinion, because fantasy, I feel like you normally read fantasy in the fall and the winter, but spring and summer, maybe not as much. I don't know. I kind of read fantasy all year round, but I feel like typically people try to lean towards the romance in the summer, fantasy in the fall and winter. But I'm recommending this series because I don't feel like this takes place during a specific time of year. Could be wrong about that, but I really don't know. This is following our main girl, Nova. Nova is an anarchist living in this world where renegades rule. Nova has always hated the renegades for something that happened in her childhood which involved the renegades. She decides that to avenge the anarchists, she is going to invade renegade headquarters, and she is posing as a renegade to kind of take them down from the inside. And also there is this boy named Adrian. He's got some secrets of his own too that he has to keep from his very much so renegade parents. It's just, again, I say fun like it's going out of style, but it is a fun time. I love this series. Again, there is found family. The characters are so fun. The plot is gorgeous and beautiful. I'm obsessed with the romance in here as well. That is why I'm recommending this. Even though these are thicker books, if you are looking for a series to kind of like cozy down with, maybe you've read a lot of romance recently and you're looking to like switch things up, read Renegades. It's not that hard of a series to follow either. I will say this first book has quite a bit of world building in it, but I still think it's such a fun time. I need to reread this. I do. And then we have another oldie series for me, but still a good series that I think about constantly that I am actually trying to reread, and that is the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. We are following our main girl Jude, and Jude is a normal girl living in this world of the Fae. She has a hard time with it because in this world Fae are cruel and mean, and she just does not want anything to do with them. She doesn't want to live there. Jude has always wanted to be in the court of fairies, so the fairies would leave her alone. She gets bullied a lot. There's Carden, who is like her main bully, and you are just really following Jude trying to make it in this terrible, horrible world of Fae. I just love this series for the vibes. I read this series last spring into summer, sort of, kind of. It was just such a fun series to just sit down and just binge. It's a very bingeable series. You can get it done very quickly, and I just adore it and I love it. I read it for Jude and Carden, and Jude and Carden only. Then we have the Prison Healer series. I did read this series also again a few summers ago. Well, that's a lie. I read the first book. It was a few summers ago. I haven't read any of the rest of the series, so I am kind of just recommending the first book, but hey, if you want to read the rest of the series and beat me to it, go for it, because I don't really know when I'm going to pick up the rest of this series. I loved it. I love this first book so much, but I just have so many books right now that I want to read. Going back to this series right now just does not sound that appealing. This series we are following Kiva. Kiva is in this prison. She's been in this prison honestly pretty much her whole life. She is a healer. She works with the healers. That's what she does. I believe that's what her magic even is. One day they bring in the Rebel Queen, and the Rebel Queen is severely injured. Kiva, in order to keep the peace and not have the rebels attacking the prison, she decides to take Kiva's place. And then there's also a little bit of a romance in here too that I can't remember who it's between, but I loved this book, and it is a short series. It is only 3 books, so if you wanted to binge it you could. I just haven't finished the rest of it yet, but I do hope eventually that I can finish it. We have a book that I've read recently that I've talked about a few times now, but I just want to talk about it again because I absolutely adored it so much, and that is 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. Let's unpack this book for a minute, because if you want the Ghibli vibes, here you go. So this book is following our main character, Shori, and Shori gets cursed. The curse is pretty much put on her and her 6 brothers. Shori ends up with a bowl on her head. The brothers, they get turned into these cranes. They have crimson crowns on their heads. You pretty much follow Shori throughout the whole book trying to break her brother's curse. There is a little bit of a love interest in here as well. There's dragons in here. There is some fun, interesting magic systems in here. I just read it for the whimsy. I read it for the whimsy. I love it for the whimsy, and I need to reread this at some point because I do absolutely adore this book so much. I will say the pacing's a little bit slow, but if you want a book that you can curl up with on a cozy summer night, this book would be it. It's adventurous, it's fun, it's it's unique. This is a duology, so you could read this duology in a few days. I'm just here for the vibes of Studio Ghibli because Studio Ghibli just screams summertime to me. Honestly, it screams any season, but specifically Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away a little bit too. If you're into the Studio Ghibli vibes, check this out. Okay, so I've got some mystery recs coming up next, and these are all pretty much basic mystery recs that I'm not really a mystery girl. I want to get into some mystery books, so if you have any good mystery thriller, but I don't do scary, so if they're like too eerie, like I don't know if I'll read them, but just some fun murder mystery books for summertime, leave them in the comments because I would like to pick up some more. But the first book that I'm going to talk about is a basic one, but I'm talking about it for a reason, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So in this book series, we're following our girl Pip, and in this first book, she is investigating the Andy Bell murder case because Andy Bell was a girl that went to Pip's school, and I don't really remember how long it's been since the murder happened, but Pip decides to reopen the case and reinvestigate for her capstone project, I believe it is. She thinks that Andy was not murdered by her boyfriend at the time. That's pretty much what happens. And the reason that I'm mentioning this series is because we're getting a TV series in July, I think, and that is perfect. That is a perfect time for you to get into the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series if you've never read it before. I think that the first season of the series is just gonna follow this first book. Don't quote me on that, but I'm like 99% sure based on what I've seen in the trailer. So I love Pip. I think Pip, she can get wild sometimes with some of the things that she does to solve her cases. She can get wild sometimes, but that's okay. I still enjoy her as a main character. And then another basic recommendation is The Naturals. I'm not really a super huge Jennifer Lynn Barnes fan. I didn't really love the Inheritance games, but this series I could get behind, especially because I'm watching this show right now called Castle. It's giving the vibes. Like, they're nothing alike at all, but just the vibes. The vibes are there. So this book we're following our main character Cassie. Cassie's mother was murdered a few years ago. I don't really know how long ago it's been, but Cassie's really good at reading people, and she gets picked up one day by this FBI agent, and he asks her if she would like to be in the Naturals program. And the Naturals program is, I believe, these 5 teenagers, and they are solving cold cases. It's a really interesting series to see where the series is when you read this book, and then going on into the end of the series, which is Bad Blood. Seeing this series evolve is so interesting, and I don't really know if I loved where it was going, but I did love this first book. The first book was fun. I don't know how I feel about the rest of the series. The second book was good. Third book was fourth book, haven't read it yet, but need to because I need to know how the story ends because it did get intriguing. Then we have our last few little books, which is going to be in the middle grade / graphic novels section, and the middle grade that I'm going to talk about is Percy Jackson. Okay, again, I know, very popular series, but I just love this book for the summertime. It fits so well. You know, Camp Half-Blood, you know, you're going to camp. It's like you're going to summer camp. If you don't know what Percy Jackson is about, this first book we are following Percy, and Percy's kind of always been a little bit different than everybody else. He's very unknowing of what he actually is. So it turns out Percy is actually a demigod, and demigods are half human, half god, and Percy discovers this. As soon as he finds this out, it's like his life is in complete danger. Like, he is in danger. He's got to get Camp Half-Blood ASAP. There is some tragic moments that happen along the way, but this is such a good read for if you love a good found family golden trio-esque trope. Then this book is perfect for you. I'm obsessed with Annabeth and Percy and Grover, and and I just love them so much. This series is just, it's perfect. I know it's a little bit of a longer series, but it is middle grade. I mean, it's easy to get through. It's fun to get through. And if you haven't watched it yet, there is a show on Disney Plus that just came out, I believe in like January, following our very fun main characters in Percy Jackson, and it's following this first whole book. So if you wanted to, you could read this whole book and then go and binge the TV series like I did. So graphic novel number 1, Lightfall and The Girl in the Guardian, book 1. I'm so obsessed with this series. I think this series, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of think it takes place in a fallish time, but it's the adventure that just really is fun for the summer. Honestly, it's the adventure of it all that I am obsessed with. I need to read the second book. It looks like, based on the cover of the second book, it looks like it takes place underwater, which is very interesting. So in this, we are following our girl main character B, and she has this grandfather. His name is the Pig Wizard, and B goes out one day to gather some ingredients for her grandfather, and this guy named Cad, he stumbles upon B, and he's like, hey, I think I might know who your grandfather is, and I need to talk to him because my people have disappeared and I need to know where they went. So they go back to talk to her grandfather, and her grandfather has disappeared. B is very concerned because she is afraid that he will get lost and he won't be able to find his way back home. So Kat and B go off on an adventure to try to find her grandfather. I just love it. It was such a fun graphic novel. It gives so much story, and I feel like graphic novels, sometimes they lack really good story and detailed story, but this book, it gave the good story, it gave the good details, and it was so aesthetically pleasing. And honestly, I will probably be reading this series by the pool all summer long. Next graphic novel that we have is The Tea Dragon Society. I've talked about this graphic novel before, but I wanted to mention it again because this graphic novel is honestly perfect for any season because it does take place throughout every single season. I love that so much. So I don't really know what this one is about, to be completely honest with you. I think our main character in this book really just wants to learn about the dragons. That's kind of all I know. But it's just the art style. Let me show you like a page. The art style is just so precious, perfect, and I love it. Okay, everybody, that was all of my summer recommendations. Be sure to comment down below what are some of the books that you are reading this summer. I want to do a part 2 to this video soon where I actually sit down and talk about my summer TBR, because I figured this video might be a little bit longer because I did kind of want to go into every book and really like give each book its moment. So I am very excited to go into what I am putting on my summer TBR this year. So just comment down below some books that you're reading for this summer, or just comment down below to say hi, because I will say hi back. I love talking to you all so much. It's so fun. Every time I get a little comment, it makes my day a little bit better. Also, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Makes my heart smile, helps out the channel. You know how it be around here. Also, be sure to tap that subscribe button. We are almost at 400 subscribers, which means we're almost halfway to 1,000 subscribers, which is crazy. And I don't know how to feel about that, but thank you guys so much. Those of you who are subscribing and staying, I'm so glad that you're enjoying the channel. I appreciate you so much, and you're just amazing. And then also, don't forget to tap that post notification bell. I normally try to upload every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. EST. I couldn't last week because unfortunately your girl got a sinus infection and could not speak properly for a good second. But we're over that now. Hopefully I don't sound too nasally. I still feel a little bit sick, but hopefully I don't sound too nasally throughout this video. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I hope I covered everything, and I hope y'all had a good time. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.